We're back. A few weeks have passed since I failed to get the E90 started again. It's given me a bit of time to think about it. I haven't got an answer yet, but at least I've had the chance to do a bit of Googling, try a couple of things, but nothing particularly significant that moves us further forward. But what I have done is get ISTA working on the laptop, and I've plugged it into the car, and we've managed to connect to the car, and we currently have a list of 24 faults, which are these. So quite a few there. I don't know how many of those I've triggered by my fiddling around. You can see I've been in the fuse box there with the glove box out. So first thing I'm going to do is delete these codes and see what comes back. Still getting the lights on the dash there. Let's run the test to see what codes are still present. So we've got 16 faults that have come back, so not great. In terms of these computers on the screen, the red ones mean ECU not responding. These two are to do with the radio, which if you've seen the previous video, we don't have the standard radio anymore, so that kind of makes sense. And then we've got this DMEDDE, and that is the engine control module, which kind of makes sense with it not starting and us not getting a crank signal. And then the ECUs that got the fault memory are the yellow ones. So JBE is the body control unit, which is in there under the fuse box, kind of built into the fuse box, but it's a separate computer that comes out. Right, let's see what faults we've got. Engine data from control unit existent, engine speed existent, rate speed, we're not moving, so that kind of makes sense. Yeah, lots of DDE, which is the engine control unit, errors, no communication with head unit, yeah, that makes sense. No communication, possible engine electronics, most gateway, that's to do with the radio, I think. Okay. The engine control unit is situated under this white box, which I've already had off. There it is. The silver box that all these black plugs go into. In the time that I've had to digest this problem and think about how I'm going to solve it, because the last thing I want to do is take it to a BMW dealer. It could cost thousands of pounds. It would easily be over £2,000, and when the car's running you'd be lucky to get £1,000 for it. So because the crank sensor didn't solve the issue, and I really thought it would, because there was no crank signal and the car was misfiring, which is a symptom that you would get from a faulty crank sensor. There's other things it could be. Potentially it might have been a wheel speed issue, but we've obviously had that before as well. And with a bit of online research, there isn't an obvious answer, or there doesn't seem to be. But there does seem to be various issues with the computers in the car, whether it's the engine control unit or that body control unit where the fuse box is. So I did a bit of Googling to see, well, maybe I could just send the ECUs off to get them tested, which might cost a few £100s, but it would let me know whether the ECU was faulty or not. And then if I knew the ECUs were good, it'd be easier to then diagnose the sensors or whatnot on the car. So I found this website, ECUtesting.com, and this is really useful because there's a list of common faults. So by searching BMW and scrolling down the list, it's got this one, 3 series E90 ECU fault causing misfire, cause rough running and engine misfire across multiple cylinders, and can ultimately prevent the vehicle from starting. So let's read more. It does say you will find fault codes for injector circuit failure or combustion misfire, which I haven't seen, but if left untreated, faulty ECU will become the cause of the BMW E90 not starting, and communications to the engine management system may become impossible, And that is what we've got. And we did have the misfire, so I'm thinking that it is worth a go getting this ECU sent off for a check. So now I'm going to take the ECU off the car and I'm going to organise this, get it sent off, check back for you taking the ECU off the car. Let's get this ECU out. The website says it's going to cost about £260 for a rebuild, but they do offer a service where you can send it off and they'll test it to see if it's breaking first. So I think that's the sensible approach, but I'm really hoping this is the problem and I can spend the £260 and get this car running. As I said, I've already removed this box, but to get it out you just slide these black things across either side into the unlock position. There's a clip there. You can see it's got these bits that go down underneath, so you just need to be kind of pulled apart and lifted out. And then we're going to have these big plugs to undo. There it is. Very easy to remove that. Now let's make the arrangements and get this in the paste. Well, that was a waste of time. The ECU has come back, but unfortunately they couldn't do anything with it. Apparently they couldn't recognise the software on the ECU, which I'm very bemused by because it's a 2007 BMW 3 Series E90. There's not many more common cars around than that. Anyway, I'm going to open the box, I'm going to get the part numbers off the ECU, I'm going to find another ECU testing place, make sure they can do it before I send it off this time, and go from there. So back on my laptop to find someone else who might be able to do this for me. I've reached out to 3 different companies now. Fingers crossed one of them can do the job for me and we will send the ECU off in the post yet again. Hopefully for more than just a quick trip to Derby this time. Whilst we're waiting for the ECU to be sorted, Hannah has a complaint with the Mokka. What is your complaint?
It's noisy.
No, she doesn't.
It's
She
whistling and screeching.
Whistling?
Yeah.
From where?
doesn't.
From the front passenger wheel area.
Okay. Show me. To be fair, I have heard the squeaking before, and before it was doing it all of the time whilst driving. Now it's only doing it when braking and coming to a stop. But we'll jack the car up, we'll get the wheel off, we'll give the brake pads a bit of a sand down and we'll give it another test. It feels like a bit of a momentous moment. It's the first time I'll have jacked the Mokka up in the air. It was always inevitable that it wasn't going to be too long before this moment. And I've got the bonus that I get to sit on an ant's nest.
They said that Diddy didn't have a life. They said he was a midget, but he had the height. Giving up a good day job to become part of the mob wasn't bad, but it was in demand. To cut a course, to drum up support for the cause of the needy and surprised. Surprise two is two, but not three. Try to bear witness, but the blind can't see.
Literally all I'm going to do is take the pad, some sandpaper, rough it up and grease up the points on the pad, like around the top there, and on the face of the pad around there where it's going to have contact with the caliper or the caliper carrier. We'll grease those up and that should eliminate any squeaking. This is proper voxel grease from back in the day. Don't know if they still use it anymore, and this grease is at least 10 years old now. Wait, more than that. I stopped being a mechanic in 2011. So it's at least 13 years old. Now I'm just going to remove as much brake dust as I can from these clips that seat the brake pad. That's the sides done. Just done the same procedure on that side. I've literally got ants in my pants now. I'm just going to give the car a quick clean and then we'll take it on the road. There we go. I know that's probably not what you tuned in for, but I just felt like I needed an easy win with the ECU troubles. And we've got an easy win. So if nothing else from this video and the last one, we have had a success. Right, back to the ECU. And whilst we've been doing that work, fixing that brake noise on the Mokka, we've got an update on the ECU. The first company to get back to me to confirm that they could look at my ECU were Outtakes. The ECU was sent off to them in the post in the same way that we did to ECUtesting.com, and we have had an update. So they've sent me this picture on screen that shows the inside of the ECU, and you can see here all the corrosion. So it's no wonder that there is an issue with the car. I can only hope that this is the issue with the car. They cannot repair this level of corrosion, so they're going to send me a reconditioned ECU. I've asked the question whether it's going to need programming. They tell me no, they can do all of that, so when it comes back it should be plug and play. You can see here on screen that there's a tracker, and we can see that where we currently are is we are waiting for parts. And to be fair, it was the same with ECU testing. There was no hanging around before I knew that they weren't going to do anything with it, and it was returned to me within the week. Fingers crossed firmly that this ECU comes back soon. I can literally plug it in and start the car and it will run. Time will tell. But let's now skip to that moment of having the ECU back. We've had a delivery from Outtakes. Today is Wednesday. The ECU was picked up last Tuesday, so 8-day turnaround. Not bad going, especially considering we had to get a reconditioned ECU. Let's see what's inside. There's only one thing to do now. We all know what it is. Let's get it on. After all of that, it's got a flat battery, can you believe it? Oh, I still don't know if it's going to start. I have to put it on charge and wait a bit. Right, I've given it an hour. Let's try again.
What a relief! It's alive! This is crazy. It's been like over 2 months since I've last driven this car. Oh, I'm so relieved. Right, next step, I'm gonna put it all back together. We'll give it a little drive, and then we'll get a few miles on the clock, and I'll let you know how it's performed and also if there's been any oil consumption. And we're all back together with all the trims, the scuttle panel, even put the engine covers back on because I'm that confident that we're not going to be taking those off for a good long while now. The only thing that I haven't done, however, is the under tray. So you can see the ground there, and there is also the Torx 30 bolt that I get to from underneath. It goes up into the inlet manifold under there somewhere. See the previous video for me undoing that. I haven't done these things because the ground is wet. Not really fancying crawling around on the floor right now, and I just want to drive it. So let's get this thing back on the road. Here we go. Look at that. What does that mean? Don't know what that light is. Let's just drive it. Always plug in the laptop and Mister again later. Let's go. And with me then. First time in over 2 months. It's crazy to be driving this car. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. So I've done it. The under tray is back on, and that Torx 30 bolt that goes into that manifold is done. See now, my magnet tray for the bolts is now empty. Further to the previous episode where there were still quite a few bits left in here. Click on screen. Now, nothing to do other than drive this thing. Just so we've got a reference point, let's get an oil level reading. The oil levels on max, we're at 104,074 miles. Let's do some more miles, see what the consumption's like now with that new PCV valve that we did in the last video. And there we go, 167 miles later. I said this in a previous video that the car didn't skip a beat, and the same is true again. Hopefully more true than it obviously was last time. So it looks like the ECU has cured the problem. I've got to say a big thank you to Outtakes. I think the service was excellent. Obviously you're going to say that when they've produced a positive result, as they have in this case. The 8-day turnaround, big thumbs up. Cost in total, so it was £312 to get it sent off to be repaired. When they told me that it can be repaired, it was an additional £130 for the reconditioned ECU, and 450 quid-ish. I think that's pretty good value. It would have cost a hell of a lot more had I gone to BMW. But what about the PCV valve? that we replaced in the last video, has that cured the oil consumption issue? Well, before at 167,000 miles, I would have expected to have seen a dip on the oil level from the maximum. We clocked where the oil level was at 104,074 miles a couple of minutes ago, and now we're at 104,240 miles. Let's see where the level is now. So we're still at max. I think that's a good sign. I'm not concluding that the PCV valve has fixed my oil consumption issue, but as I say, I think beforehand we would have seen that drop off the max by now. But we will keep monitoring it, and I will update you in the next video on the E90. What's next for the E90? Pretty much all my videos on this car so far have been me trying to stay on top of the various issues with the oil leaks, the ABS rings, the Valvetronic issue and the breakdown, the crank sensor, which ultimately turned out to be this ECU problem. It's been a bit endless, but potentially now, touch wood, I can kind of choose where I go next with this car. And what I want to do, I want to make this car cool, like me, my shades. This here isn't cool. The first thing I would like to do next is to get this fixed and get the car looking respectable again. How I go about that, I'm not 100% set yet. I'm thinking I could either have a go at filling the bodywork myself and wrapping the car. Now again, previous video, top right corner, when I did my first ever little bit of wrapping, I think I said in the video that I'd love to wrap a car one day. Not that I would say that having got through this that I know how to wrap. It'd be great to wrap a car. If I can find the time to do so, then I'll probably give it a go in the future. This feels like a great opportunity. It's not a car that's got any particular value, so it doesn't matter too much if it goes wrong. So a great canvas to experiment with. The other option is obviously just to get it to the body shop, and the third option is to buy new doors. But every door that I've looked at on eBay has come with the caveat that they're not going to bear any responsibility for any chips, dents, marks just from storage or sending in transit. So bearing in mind the cost of getting a door here and then the hassle of disposing a door, I'm not thinking that's the way I want to go. And once I've done that, I'd like to do something with these wheels, not necessarily replacing them, but they're a bit grubby, so maybe a refurb. But also the stance, I think we can lower this quite a bit, and you look down the side of the car and where are the wheels even? They are buried right in the middle of the car. It might as well be a Reliant Robin. So those are the plans. Hopefully we'll get to carry out those plans and make this car look pretty damn sweet. Gangster. And that's the end of what marks my 20th YouTube video, which feels like a bit of a landmark to get to, but it's great to have this car back on the road. There really aren't many better feelings than when you spent so long trying to solve a problem and then you can drive the car afterwards. Next video will be back on the Astra, where I need to get my aircon working because at the moment it is hot, hot, hot. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Astra. How many Mokkas we can spot in the next 2 minutes.
1, 2, 3, 4, done it!
One.
Wow.
No, Nissan.
2.
Touch.
Do you know what
One.
your own car looks like?
That's
Yes, we got one, we got one.
I saw 3 of them!
Just the one Mokka, maybe they're not so generic after all.
I saw 3.
I must have missed them, man.
I saw 4.
There's one.